Welcome, readers. Ready, set, go! Deep inside a forest, two trees stood across each other in a quiet clearing. One was Everly, a tall spruce tree with soft green needle-like leaves that stayed still even when the wind passed through the clearing. She was an evergreen, a tree that remained green all year round. The other was Deci, a proud sugar maple with wide leaves that fluttered and danced in every breeze. She was deciduous, a tree that changed with time, shedding its leaves and growing them back again. The forest moved through 4 seasons. Spring brought blooming flowers. Summer brought warmth. Autumn painted the leaves with color. And winter covered everything in snow. As the forest changed, so did Deci, but Everly always stayed the same. Spring was the season Deci welcomed with a flourish. New leaves unfurled from her branches, soft and green, and blossoms bloomed at the tips like tiny crowns. She swayed with the wind, full of life, full of movement. Across the clearing, Everly was the complete opposite. She didn't bloom. She didn't sway. Nothing about her seemed new. She remained still and unchanged. Deci felt like the pride of the forest and pitied Everly. A tree is supposed to change, she thought. Everly was too plain, too quiet. What purpose could she possibly serve just standing there? Everly felt small, unnoticed, insignificant. She whispered to herself, "Why am I like this?" Everything else around her was growing and changing, but she was always the same. As spring turned to summer and the days grew warmer, Deci's pride only deepened. Her leaves grew broader and her branches stretched far and wide. Her wide leafy canopy offered children a cool escape from the heat. Deci believed that her bright green leaves, graceful movements, and a generous shade made her the most important tree in the clearing. To her, Everly's tiny needle-like leaves were dull and unremarkable. From her side of the clearing, Everly watched quietly, a weight growing in her heart. She wondered why she couldn't be more like Deci. Was she invisible because she never changed? She wished she could be bold and bright, but instead she simply stood, quiet and constant. Then came autumn. Deci was thrilled. This was her season to shine. Her green leaves turned to blazing shades of red, orange, and gold. The entire forest seemed to glow when the sunlight touched her canopy. Creatures gathered beneath her, marveling at her transformation. She stood tall, surrounded by admiration. Across the clearing, Everly stood in silence. Her needles stayed green. Her branches held their form. No brilliant colors, no applause. No one gathered beneath her. No one marveled at her. A quiet ache settled in her bark. She tried not to feel it, but it was hard not to notice how no one seemed to look her way. As autumn came to a close, Deci's leaves began to fall. They covered the ground like a crunchy, colorful carpet. Children laughed and leaped through them. The breeze tossed them into the air like confetti. Deci stood at the center of it all, brilliant, admired, and glowing. But as more leaves fell, her branches began to show. The rich, full crown that made her feel bold and beautiful began to look thin. Her rustling music faded into silence. She stretched her limbs wide as always, but now they felt bare. For the first time, Deci didn't feel admired. She felt exposed, and as though her beauty was fading. She looked across the clearing at Everly, still green, still full, still standing, just as she had before. As the cold winds of winter blew in, Deci's limbs were stripped bare. Her branches, once alive with color, now stood thin and empty. Where she had once stood proud, Deci now felt small, insignificant. Across the clearing, Everly remained unchanged. Her deep green needles were the only color against the snowy white. Birds nestled in her branches, and tiny winter creatures curled up at her roots. For the first time, Everly didn't feel invisible. She felt noticed. She felt needed. The forest had turned to her for shelter. And in the quiet of that snowy season, Deci realized that being unchanged didn't mean being unimportant. Everly too was having a quiet realization. She had once wondered if staying the same meant she mattered less, if she needed broad, bold leaves and bursts of color to matter. But now she understood. She had been measuring her worth by Deci's gifts, not seeing the quiet purpose in her own. She didn't bloom. She didn't wear bright colors, but she offered shelter. She stayed steady. She was still valuable. Different trees, different seasons, different strengths, each important in their own way. When spring returned and the forest awoke from winter's slumber, it brought more than blossoms and buzzing bees. It brought understanding. Deci's new leaves began to unfurl again, soft and green. This time, she welcomed them with grace instead of pride. She looked across the clearing at Everly, not with pity, but with respect. And Everly, still green, still steady, no longer felt the need to compare herself to Deci. They stood across from each other, different but equally important, reminding the forest and anyone who looked that we don't all shine the same way, and that's okay. Being special and valuable isn't always about being big or bright. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's calm, sometimes it's just being you. shining doesn't always mean standing out. Sometimes it means quietly being there just when someone needs you, and that is enough. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and comment down below to let us know what you think. Bye!